There's a moment in every scientist's career where they look at their data, look at what they've just done, and think, okay, we are never doing that again. And then there are the ones who didn't even get that far because someone else had to shut it down for them. Today we're going through 10 experiments that got stopped cold the moment someone realized what was actually happening inside the lab or the prison or the city. Let's just get into it. From 1951 to 1974, that's 23 years, researchers from the University of Pennsylvania used inmates at Holmesburg Prison as test subjects. They paid them a few dollars, they exposed them to chemical warfare agents, radioactive isotopes, hallucinogens, and experimental cosmetics. One researcher, Dr. Albert Kligman, famously said, and I'm quoting, "All I saw before me was acres of skin. The inmates developed rashes, burns, and long-term health problems that followed them for life." The program ran for over 2 decades before it was finally exposed and shut down in 1974. When you hear about informed consent in modern medicine, this is one of the reasons why. Because for 23 years at Holmesburg, it didn't exist at all. In 1967, a Palo Alto high school teacher named Ron Jones wanted to teach his students about fascism, so he invented a movement, complete with a salute, a slogan, membership cards, and strict rules about who could join. What was supposed to last one day turned into an entire week, because the students didn't just participate, they became true believers. They started policing each other's behavior, reporting rule breakers, recruiting others. By day 4, over 200 students had joined what they genuinely believed was a national political movement. Jones realized he hadn't just taught fascism, he had accidentally built it inside a California high school. On day 5, he gathered everyone in an auditorium, revealed it was all an experiment, and showed them footage of Nazi rallies. He never repeated it and later described it as one of the most terrifying experiences of his life. I feel like if your lesson plans ends with you becoming scared of your own students, maybe you took a wrong turn somewhere. In 1939, speech pathologist Wendell Johnson gathered 22 orphan children in Iowa. Half of them spoke perfectly normally. That didn't matter. For months, he and his team told them that they had severe speech problems, that their stuttering was getting worse, that they should avoid speaking unless they could do it perfectly. He was trying to prove that stuttering was learned, not biological, so he actively tried to create it, and he succeeded. Several of them who had never stuttered in their lives developed lifelong speech disorders. The study was never published. Johnson buried it. It didn't surface until 2001 when the University of Iowa finally issued an apology, over 60 years later. Okay, thanks, I guess, real timely. In 1963, neuroscientist Jose Delgado stood alone in a bull ring in Spain. Fully grown fighting bull was released and charged directly at him. Delgado had implanted an electrode into the bull's brain, specifically into the caudate nucleus, which controls aggression and movement. He pressed a button on a radio transmitter, the bull skidded to a halt, turned away, completely docile. He had literally stopped a charging bull with a remote control. Delgado called it the stimoceiver and believed brain implants could cure everything from epilepsy to aggression. Then he started thinking about what a government might do with that technology, remote-controlled soldiers, pacified populations, and essentially walked away from his own discovery. He spent the rest of his career warning about the very thing he had invented, which sounds a lot like a sci-fi villain origin story, except he was the one who said, okay, maybe don't. In 1950, the U.S. Navy conducted a biological warfare simulation off the coast of San Francisco. They loaded ships with massive quantities of 2 bacteria, Serratia marcescens and Bacillus globigii, and they sprayed them into the air over the city. Their goal was to see how a biological weapon would disperse through a populated area. They tracked the bacteria spreading across the entire Bay Area. Then, within weeks, 11 patients at Stanford Hospital developed serious Serratia infections. One of them died. The Navy denied everything. It wasn't until 1976, 26 years later, that the truth came out. The military had literally germ warfare tested its own citizens without telling anyone, without consent, without a single warning. Isn't history so fun? For 17 years, from 1978 to 1995, the CIA and U.S. Army ran a top-secret program investigating whether psychic abilities could be used for military intelligence. They called it remote viewing. They hired people who claimed they could see locations, objects, and events thousands of miles away using only their mind. They tasked them with locating hostages, describing secret Soviet facilities, and predicting future events. The project burned through over $20 million. In 1995, the CIA declassified the program and released a report concluding that remote viewing had failed to produce actionable intelligence. The program was shut down, but here's the thing. Several of the remote viewers insist to this day that some of their reports were disturbingly accurate. The files are public now, but heavily redacted, so the question isn't whether the government believed in psychics. The question is, what's still blacked out and why they kept running it for almost 2 decades if it didn't work. In April 1979, an explosion occurred at a secret Soviet bioweapons facility in the city of Sverdlovsk. A plume of anthrax spores was released into the air. It drifted downwind over the city's southern districts. Within days, people started dying. The official death count was 66, but the real number was almost certainly higher. The Soviet government immediately blamed it on contaminated meat. They confiscated hospital records. They bulldozed the homes of the dead. They maintained the meat story until 1992, when President Boris Yeltsin finally admitted the truth. It was a bioweapons accident at a facility that should have never existed. The lab was permanently dismantled. Scientists were reassigned, and for 13 years, everyone involved looked the world in the eye and said it was just some bad beef. From the 1940s to 1989, a top-secret British facility called Porton Down conducted chemical weapons testing on its own soldiers. This is not ancient history. This ran until the year Taylor Swift was born, which is honestly a very weird way to measure history. Thousands of servicemen were told that they were participating in research to find a cure for the common cold. Instead, they were exposed to sarin, VX, and other nerve agents. In 1953, a 20-year-old Royal Air Force engineer named Ronald Madison died during a sarin exposure test. He was one of the youngest casualties of the program. The Ministry of Defense covered it up for decades. An inquest in 2004 finally ruled his death unlawful. Porton Down still exists, but live human testing of chemical agents stopped. Publicly, at least. Which is the kind of sentence I hate having to end with, but here we are. Between 1945 and 1947, researchers working on the Manhattan Project injected small amounts of plutonium directly into the bodies of 18 American hospital patients. They did not tell the patients what they were doing. They did not ask for permission. The patients were in hospitals for other reasons: broken bones, routine treatments, and the scientists simply added the plutonium to their IVs. They wanted to see how plutonium moved through the human body. They tracked it in excrement, in tissue samples, in autopsies. When investigative journalist Eileen Wellsome uncovered the experiment in the 1990s, it triggered a national scandal. The government settled a class action lawsuit, and President Clinton issued a formal apology in 1995. The research was permanently shut down, but the data collected from those 18 people, data gathered without a single signature on a consent form, was still being cited in radiation safety guidelines for decades. After World War II, scientists at Los Alamos kept a 6.2 kilogram sphere of plutonium. It was originally meant for a third nuclear bomb, but the war ended before it was used. So they started running what were called criticality experiments, basically pushing the plutonium right to the edge of a nuclear chain reaction, then backing off at the last moment. In August 1945, physicist Harry Daghlian was working alone at night. He dropped a tungsten carbide brick onto the core. There was a blue flash. He absorbed a massive radiation dose and died 25 days later. Less than a year after that, in May 1946, physicist Louis Slotin was demonstrating the exact same type of experiment to colleagues. He was using a screwdriver to keep two halves of a beryllium reflector apart. The screwdriver slipped, the reflector closed, blue flash, Slotin felt heat in his hands and tasted acid in his mouth. He was dead 9 days later. 7 other people in the room survived, but several developed radiation-related cancers years later. 2 deaths from the exact same plutonium sphere in under a year. After Slotin, Los Alamos permanently banned all hands-on criticality experiments. No one has done one since. I don't know, maybe, just maybe, holding a nuclear reaction open with a screwdriver was not the best move ever. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thanks so much for checking it out. I've been your host today, Libby Kozlowski, and I will see you again soon. Bye!
Hey y'all, still in the Aquarius thing, so experiments got a whole lot to do with the Aquarius age. Just giving y'all some insight. They ain't gonna stop. Thing is, do you have an antidote of how to protect yourself? I'm gonna go back to Zeus and Gilgamesh for a minute. Then I'm headed to something else. I'm out of Zeus after this. Well, for a minute. This is different creations, different cultures, how they think creation started. And I want to go back to Zeus right quick. Let me ask a question. Let me see if I can find this one. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Yoga.
Forget everything you think you know about it.
Let me go back.
Before Zeus.
Let me see if this one got it.
Hey there, myth lovers. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of mythology. From the gods of Olympus to the deities of Egypt, mythology has colored our stories and shaped our cultures for centuries. In this video, we're going to explore some incredible characters from various mythologies and share cool facts about them you might not know. Let's kick things off with Greek mythology. One of the most well-known figures is Zeus, the king of the gods. Zeus wasn't just your average ruler. He had quite the reputation for being a bit of a ladies' man. You see, he had many affairs that led to some pretty intense stories involving love, jealousy, and even legendary heroes. And if you thought that was something, wait until you hear about Athena. She's the goddess of wisdom and warfare. What's super cool about her is that she didn't have a normal birth like most deities. Athena sprang fully grown and armored from Zeus's forehead after he got a massive headache. Now, let's hop on over to Norse mythology. First up, we have Odin, often referred to as the Allfather. This guy is all about wisdom and poetry, but he had quite the strategy for gaining knowledge. In his quest for wisdom, Odin sacrificed one of his eyes to drink from the well of wisdom. He's also famous for hanging on Yggdrasil, the world tree, for 9 days and nights, just to learn the secrets of the runes. That's dedication. And then there's Loki, the trickster god. Loki is a tricky fella, often causing chaos among the gods. But here's the kicker, he's not pure evil. He has a complex relationship with the gods, and his actions, even if they're mischievous, sometimes lead to beneficial outcomes. But let's be real, he's best known for brewing trouble just when you think everything's calm. Next up, we're off to ancient Egypt. One of the key players here is Ra, the sun god. This guy was a big deal and was often associated with creation itself. Every day, Ra would sail across the sky in his solar boat, bringing light to the world. But at night, he had a dangerous adventure in the underworld, battling the giant serpent Apophis to rise again in the morning. Now let's talk about Anubis, the god of mummification in the afterlife. This fascinating deity is often depicted with a jackal head. Anubis oversaw the embalming process and guided souls to the afterlife. He's often seen as a protector, making sure everything was in order for your journey beyond this life. Moving on, we explore Hindu mythology. One of the most significant gods here is Vishnu. Known as the preserver god, Vishnu is all about maintaining balance in the universe. He takes on different forms, called avatars, to help out whenever things get a little out of hand. Two of his most famous avatars are Rama and Krishna, who have their own epic stories in the Hindu texts. And then we have Kali, the goddess of destruction and transformation. Now don't let her fearsome image scare you. Kali represents the fierce forces of change. She reminds us that sometimes destruction is necessary for new beginnings. A bit of chaos can lead to renewal. Finally, let's touch on ancient Mesopotamian mythology. Ever heard of Gilgamesh? He's not just a legendary hero, he's also one of the earliest figures in literature. The Epic of Gilgamesh tells his adventures in search of immortality and tackles big themes like friendship, loss, and what it means to be human. And then we have Ishtar, the goddess of love, war, and fertility. This multifaceted goddess is known for her dual nature. She's both nurturing and fierce. Ishtar even goes on a wild journey to the underworld, which represents the cycle of life and the changing of seasons. So there you have it. From Zeus's wild affairs to Anubis guiding souls, these mythological characters are full of drama, wisdom, and lessons that still resonate today. Thank you.
Great taste, made right for generations. Craft your lab, the heart of every table.
Forget everything you think you know about Greece. Hidden beneath the golden myths lies a realm of psychological torture, blood-soaked spirits, and monsters so massive they block the sun. Number one on this list almost wiped out the gods forever. This is the Immortals, where legends never die. Subscribe and take your place in the ranks of legends. Kicking off our countdown at number 10, the master of mental warfare, Momus, the distorted mirror. Did you know that a god so dangerously toxic once lived on Olympus? That Zeus himself had to exile him forever from the kingdom of heaven? Not for using weapons, but for the devastating power of his words. Momus is the absolute personification of sarcasm, cruel mockery, merciless criticism, and psychological deception. Unlike other warrior gods who shattered bodies with swords or lightning bolts, Momus directly attacked the soul and sanity. His purpose in the universe was to act as a distorted mirror that brought to light the darkest and most intimate insecurities of any being, whether a humble mortal or a supreme deity. He was a master of psychological warfare. He dedicated himself to wandering the corridors of Olympus, minutely observing every divine action, only to later transform it into a humiliating joke or a poisonous critique that ate away at the pride of the gods. His presence was synonymous with mental discord, as he sowed doubt, paranoia, and collective shame. He managed to make immortal and ultra-powerful beings fall to their knees crying or doubting their own existence, destroying entire kingdoms with a simple act of whispering a hidden defect into the ear of the wrong king. His dangerousness lay in the fact that he spoke uncomfortable truths dressed as mockery, something that the proud Olympians could not tolerate under any circumstance. He achieved a total triumph over his enemies by humiliating them publicly without shedding a single drop of blood, eroding their authority until subjects lost all faith in their divine protectors. The straw that broke the camel's back and caused his permanent banishment was a contest where Zeus, Poseidon, and Athena competed to see who could create the perfect masterpiece. Momus destroyed Poseidon's bow, saying he should have put eyes on the horns to see where it was attacking. He criticized Athena's house because it lacked wheels to move away if the neighbors were annoying. And finally, he mocked Zeus's ultimate creation, the human being, arguing that the king of Olympus had committed an unforgivable error by failing to install a transparent window in the chest, so everyone could see the hidden thoughts, malice, lies, and betrayals of the human heart. At number 9, the goddess who burned empires with a whisper, Eris, the Sower of Discord. A single word from this goddess was enough to unleash the Trojan War, a massacre that lasted 10 years and claimed the lives of thousands of warriors. Imagine what she would do if she decided to enter your home invisibly today. Eris is the terrifying deity of chaos, discord, envy, and endless rivalry. She does not possess a gigantic body or breathe fire, but her power to corrupt the human and divine mind makes her one of the most destructive forces in existence. Her greatest amusement consisted of infiltrating perfect celebrations, wedding banquets, or peaceful political gatherings with the sole and twisted purpose of sowing jealousy, suspicion, and repressed hatred among those present. She is directly responsible for breaking unbreakable alliances, causing blood brothers to slaughter each other, and dragging prosperous empires into the ashes of massive self-destruction. She enjoys the sound of screaming in arguments, the gnashing of teeth from rage, and the crying of the innocent trapped in conflicts she started out of nowhere. When the physical world is in perfect peace, Eris becomes deeply bored, so she descends to earth to whisper lies into the ears of rulers, feeding their greed and paranoia, until the only visible option on the horizon is bloodshed. Her goal is not territorial control or military success, but the absolute breakdown of social order and the degradation of the human spirit through eternal conflict. Classical mythology reveals a truly disturbing detail about her nature. Eris is a prolific mother, but her offspring are not heroes or magical creatures. She gave birth to a legion of abstract concepts of pure horror that she unleashed upon the mortal world, most notably Ponos, agonizing pain, Limos, extreme hunger that drives humans to consume the unthinkable, Algos, chronic bodily pains, and the Phonoi, violent massacres on battlefields, thus ensuring that her legacy of suffering remains active even when she is not present. Number 8 brings us ancient Greece's original nightmare, Lamia, the bloody predator. Long before the vampire legends we know today were born, the mothers of ancient Greece trembled with horror at the mere mention of the name Lamia, the first bloody monster to stalk the total darkness. Lamia began as a human queen of dazzling beauty who captured the attention of Zeus. However, this unleashed the implacable fury of Hera, who killed all of the queen's children and condemned her to an eternity of absolute suffering. Pain and madness transformed Lamia into a grotesque, semi-human creature, a nightmare with a distorted torso, sharp talons, and an insatiable hunger for fresh flesh. Incapable of conceiving again, and consumed by a poisonous envy toward the happiness of others, she began to roam the nights, silently slipping into the rooms of human homes to hunt, kidnap, and tear apart alive the babies and young children of other mothers, drinking their warm blood and devouring their entrails in a gory feast. She became the embodied horror of loss and domestic violence, a physical monster that destroyed the flesh of the most innocent, to try to satisfy an emotional void that would never be filled. Her existence was reduced to a perpetual hunt, where the only achievement she pursued was inflicting upon other women the same heartbreaking torment she experienced when her own babies were ripped away from her. As part of the divine punishment imposed by Hera, Lamia was cursed with a total inability to close her eyes, forcing her to eternally and restlessly see the bloody image of her own dead children floating in her mind. Zeus, feeling a deep pity for his former lover, but unable to reverse his wife's curse, granted her a disturbing gift. Lamia possessed the macabre ability to remove her eyeballs from their sockets and store them in a jar to rest in artificial darkness, leaving her completely blind and vulnerable while she slept, but free from her bloody visions. At number 7, the god who paralyzes your soul from the shadows, Deimos, the paralyzing whisper. In this spot, we are not facing a monster that devours your body, but a god whose sole purpose is to freeze your heart and completely paralyze your muscles long before the battle even begins. Deimos is the mythological personification of terror, cold panic, and the cowardice that destroys armies from the shadows. As the son of Ares, the god of war, and Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty, Deimos inherited a twisted duality, an imposing physical appearance, but a nature dedicated exclusively to the psychological destruction of the masses. His job on the battlefield was not to wield a sword, but to hover over enemy lines, injecting a dense fog of absolute dread into the minds of soldiers. Under the influence of Deimos, the most experienced and bravest warriors lost control of their bodies. Their knees would shake violently, their hands would drop their weapons from cold sweat, and their minds would fill with horrible visions of their own death. He was the architect of disastrous retreats and massive mental collapses, achieving the subjugation of entire nations for his father, without needing to spill a single drop of Olympian blood, simply breaking the will to fight of entire battalions through dread. His iconography in ancient temples was so disturbing that Greek generals avoided looking at his altars before marching. Deimos possessed a legendary and terrifying war chariot whose chassis and wheels were not made of bronze or wood, but constructed entirely from the intertwined bones, crushed skulls, and broken ribs of warriors who had died fleeing in panic during previous battles, serving as a physical reminder of what happens to those who yield to his influence. Right at number 6, the architect of collective madness, Phobos, the lord of hysteria. If his younger brother Deimos freezes your body with a cold fear, the god Phobos unleashes a collective hysteria so violent and savage that it will make you claw your own eyes out with despair. Phobos is the embodiment of absolute panic, the frenzy of survival, and uncontrolled mental chaos. While Deimos immobilizes his victims, Phobos does the exact opposite. He accelerates the pulse until veins rupture, and unleashes a blind, self-destructive adrenaline. When Phobos descends to the battlefield alongside his father Ares, the air grows thick, and the environment fills with a deafening noise that only the victims can hear. His power consists of altering the perception of reality, causing armies to lose all sense of strategy, and fall into a collective madness so extreme that they can no longer distinguish between allies and enemies. Under the effect of Phobos, men become wild beasts that trample their own fallen comrades, run toward cliffs to leap into the void, to escape imaginary ghosts, or massacre each other in the dark out of sheer mental confusion. He is the destructive force behind the human stampede, the horror of losing control of one's own mind and becoming the author of your own destruction. His presence guaranteed that the enemy side would annihilate itself, granting Sparta a favorable outcome before the actual combat even began. The cult of Phobos was so grim and extreme that the most lethal warriors in history, the Spartans, built an exclusive temple in his honor, Before marching into any military campaign, generals performed human blood sacrifices at his secret altar, executing prisoners of war in the cruelest ways possible to appease the god, and beg him to send his curse of madness to the enemy army instead of falling upon the ranks of Sparta. Cracking the top 5, the ancient sovereign of dark magic, Hecate, the Queen of Shadows. There is a deity so ancient and mysterious that she walks freely between the 3 worlds of existence, controlling a magic so dark that the gods of Olympus themselves prefer to ignore her presence rather than cross her path. Hecate is the undisputed sovereign of dark magic, witchcraft, necromancy, and the crossroads of life and death. She does not belong to the direct lineage of the Olympians, which grants her an independence and ancestral power that inspires respect and fear. She rules over lonely crossroads during moonless nights, forgotten cemeteries, and the lowest depths of the underworld. Her retinue is not made of beautiful nymphs, but of wandering ghosts, suffering souls who die violently, and demonic creatures of the netherworld. Hecate is the source of all blood curses, the deadliest poisons extracted from the earth, and forbidden spells that can alter the destiny of mortals. Her psychological and mystical power is incalculable, as she holds the keys to the gates between the world of the living and the dead, allowing her to drag any soul into eternal torment, or invoke horrors of the past to destroy the present of those who dare to insult her sacred rituals. Her mastery of the occult arts allowed her to subdue wills without raising a sword, consolidating a spiritual supremacy that terrified earthly rulers. When Hecate decided to cross the thin line between the underworld and the mortal world at midnight, she moved completely invisibly to the human eye. The only way the ancients knew that the Queen of Witches was passing right beside them was through the behavior of local dogs.
Stylish Mel, Elements Microdiffusion Mist offers long-lasting old with a brushable finish. L'Oreal Paris.
Try nature.
Damn.
Made with quality, made to care for you every day.
Are your clothes just surviving when they could be thriving? Persil's new Triple Care formula fights against fading, reduces pilling, and delivers a deep clean for clothes that stay looking vibrant for longer. Persil, now with Triple Care, the care your clothes deserve.
It's another Saturday and the fans are frozen in suspense for the penalties.
Wait, how did that get there?
Get renter's insurance that's less than your coffee order. And simpler, too. Get
The canines would begin to howl desperately, scratching the ground until they bled or biting at the air out of the pure madness provoked by sensing the goddess's immense cold and dead energy. At number 4, the violent scavengers of the battlefield, the AQUARIUS, the blood harvesters. Forget entirely about the classic image of a peaceful and quiet death coming to find you at the end of your days. These mythological creatures enjoy devouring your pain while you are still completely conscious. The AQUARIUS are the female spirits of violent, cruel, painful, and inevitable death, daughters of the primordial night. These lesser deities are the physical representation of gore and extreme suffering in the Greek imagination. Their natural habitat was massive battlefields or cities ravaged by deadly plagues. Physically, they were described as abominable beings with dark, bat-like wings, teeth as sharp as blades, and bronze talons capable of piercing metal armor. They flew in flocks over combats, watching the development of the battle with bloodshot eyes. The exact instant a warrior fell gravely wounded to the ground, the AQUARIUS dropped upon him like human vultures. They did not come to release his soul compassionately, but to tear the living flesh from his wounds with their nails, breaking bones to lick the marrow and drinking warm blood directly from open arteries, while the victim screamed in absolute agony until his life finally went out. They sought no glory, only to satisfy their insatiable fleshly appetite with the remains of the fallen. The clothing of the AQUARIUS was one of the most terrifying details described by ancient poets like Homer. They wore long, flowing robes that were originally white, but were permanently stained, soaked, and heavy with the fresh blood of the thousands of men they had torn apart over the centuries. Furthermore, It is described that these creatures would engage in savage biting and scratching matches with one another in the middle of battlefields to decide which of them had the right to keep the soul of the warrior who was suffering the longest and most painful death of the day. On the podium at number 3, the cosmic darkness that made Zeus tremble. Nyx, the terror of Zeus. There is a force so ancient, vast, and monstrous in the universe that Zeus himself, the king of lightning and absolute sovereign of Olympus, had to kneel trembling with fear before her to save his own existence. Nyx is the personification of the primordial night, one of the direct hereditary deities of the original chaos that existed long before gods, titans, or the very light of the sun were born. Nyx is not a monster that uses physical force, or that you can fight with a bronze sword. She is the absolute emptiness, the unfathomable cosmic darkness that envelops the universe and will eventually consume everything. Her power is of such an elevated cosmogonic level that it escapes the understanding of mortals. She inhabits a hidden palace in the lower regions of Tartarus, surrounded by living shadows and a silence that can drive any being insane if they dare to approach. She controls the cycles of rest, but also the darkest secrets that daylight tries to hide. Her mere presence extinguishes the power of Zeus's lightning bolts and plunges reality into a blackness so dense that it destroys any trace of hope, order, or civilization, returning the cosmos to its original state of confusion and death. Her supremacy over space and time is unquestionable, for she existed before light and will prevail when the stars burn out. The myth that proves her terrifying status occurred when the god Hypnos, Nyx's son, enraged Zeus by using his powers of sleep to trick him. Zeus dropped his lightning bolts and offered immediate apologies, retreating in fear of unleashing the fury of a goddess who could erase all of Olympus with a single blink. At number 2, the ultimate family tyrant, Cronus, the devourer of gods, the titan who was willing to devour the entire future of his own blood, locking his living newborn children inside the prison of his own stomach due to a sickening paranoia that consumed him from within. Cronus is the implacable king of the Titans and the sovereign of the mythological Golden Age, an era marked by tyranny and absolute cruelty. His rise to power was blessed by violence, and his fall was marked by the same bloody fate. After receiving a prophecy from his parents stating that one of his own children would dethrone him in the same way he had taken the throne, Cronus fell into a state of limitless madness and paranoia. To prevent fate from being fulfilled, he implemented one of the most infamous practices in mythological history. Every time his wife Rhea gave a birth to a new Olympian god, Cronus snatched the baby from the arms of his mother, who was dying of emotional pain, and opening his enormous titan jaws, swallowed it whole and alive, trapping Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon in the acidic, damp, and eternal darkness of his entrails, where they grew for years listening to the heartbeat of their own executioner. His reign was based on oppression and fear, eliminating any potential threat to maintain his position at the summit of the universe. His record of extreme cruelty began long before he became a father. To overthrow his progenitor, Uranus, the god of the sky, who kept their monstrous brothers locked in Tartarus, Cronus conspired with his mother, Gaia. He waited hidden in the darkness of the nuptial chamber for his father to fall asleep, and using a gigantic sickle forged from magical and sharp diamonds, brutally castrated his own father alive, throwing the mutilated genitals into the sea in an act of pure ambition and lack of empathy that defined the beginning of his violent reign over the cosmos. And standing at number 1, the ultimate abomination that broke the sky, Typhon, the scourge of the gods. Imagine an abomination so colossal, monstrous, and destructive that his mere birth caused all the gods of Olympus to flee in terror to Egypt, transforming themselves into animals to hide like rats from his fury. Typhon is the ultimate nightmare of Greek mythology, the last and most terrible son of Mother Earth, Gaia, created with a single and absolute purpose: to exterminate the Olympian gods and claim the throne of the universe, to plunge creation into eternal chaos. Physically, Typhon surpassed any imaginable scale of horror. He was a titan so staggeringly gigantic that his head struck the stars of the firmament, and when he extended his arms, his hands touched the easternmost and westernmost edges of the known world. Instead of human fingers, 100 heads of deadly dragons and serpents sprouted from his hands, spitting liquid fire and emitting a deafening noise that mixed the screams of thousands of men, the roar of lions, and the howling of rabid wolves. His eyes flashed a cursed red light that incinerated everything he looked at, and from his waist down, his body was formed by thousands of gigantic vipers that writhed, tearing the earth open as he moved. His physical strength was such that he could rip entire mountains from their roots and throw them as projectiles, splitting the earth's crust and blocking the sun's light with his continent-sized black wings. He was on the verge of achieving a definitive outcome against the Olympians, defying the laws of the established heavens. During his initial assault on Olympus, Typhon achieved what no one else could, cornering Zeus in hand-to-hand combat. Using his 100 dragon heads, he enveloped the king of the gods, wrenched his diamond sickle away, and with inhumane cruelty, cut the tendons from his arms and legs, leaving the sovereign of the universe as a useless and agonizing sack of flesh. Typhon dragged Zeus's mutilated body to a dark cave in Cilicia, hiding his tendons inside a bear skin under the guard of a monster, requiring a secret infiltration mission by Hermes to recover the tendons and allow Zeus to heal, to unleash the final battle that would bury Typhon beneath Mount Etna. The Greek Olympus was never a place of peace, but a realm of absolute nightmares. If you want to discover more dark secrets of him...
Wow. I didn't see that coming. Let's do creation. Let's go ahead and do a creation of Asia.
Noah is actually a term.
Yo, Shaka, how you keep so healthy? It's all on the wrist. Come on, give us a hint. It's all on the wrist. So, all you gotta say is, it's all on the wrist.
Watch the FIFA World Cup 2026 live on Fox 1, June 11th through July 19th. Available with YouTube. Terms apply. Cancel anytime.
The modern age may feature many regions which make up Asia. The history of Middle East, South Asia, and East Asia is what makes up the entire Asian history. The coastline fringe has witnessed some of the...
Wait a minute, that's not what I want.
long time ago.
The Credit One Bank, we believe anything's possible.
It's freezing. I might go back to the module.
But leading your team to the championship? Unlikely.
Okay, that's my personal space.
Planning?
A long time ago, when the heavens and the earth were not yet separated, the universe was in chaos. From this chaos was born a giant named Pangu. He did not have parents and was directly conceived within a giant egg. Pangu slept inside this egg for a full 18,000 years, eventually maturing into a man. When he awoke, he felt suffocated and restrained by the eggshell. Struggling to stretch his limbs, with a swing of an arm and a kick of a leg, he shattered the egg. Opening his eyes, everything around Pangu was pitch black. There was no light in any direction, and he couldn't see anything. Therefore, he raised his axe and ferociously struck at the darkness. As he acted, the chaos began to separate. The light and clear substances slowly rose to form the heavens. The heavy and murky substances slowly descended, becoming the earth. Once the heavens and earth were separated, Pangu felt much more comfortable. However, the space between them was too narrow for him to stand up straight. To prevent them from merging again, he used his hands to push up the heavens and his feet to press down on the earth, expanding the distance between them. Standing upright, Pangu became a giant, reaching 90,000 miles in height, with the span between the heavens and earth also stretching to 90,000 miles. This later came to be known by people as the Nine Heavens. After this, the heavens and earth gradually took shape, and Pangu, exhausted, fell down. Pangu exhausted himself in the process of shaping the heavens and the earth. Not long after they were separated, he died from exhaustion. As he approached death, still bearing goodwill, he thought just having the blue sky and the earth is not enough. The world also needs the sun, the moon, mountains, rivers, humans, and all living beings. However, he was too drained to create these things himself. In the end, he said, "Leave my body to the world," and then passed away. After Pangu's fall, his body underwent enormous transformations. The breath he exhaled became the winds of the four seasons and floating clouds. The sounds he made became the rumbling thunder. His eyes transformed into the sun and the moon. His limbs became the four poles of the earth, east, west, south, and north. His skin transformed into the vast land. His blood became the ever-flowing rivers, and his sweat turned into the nourishing rain and dew. His soul transformed into humans and all living beings. From then on, the sky had the sun, moon, and stars. The earth had mountains, rivers, trees, and all beings. Pangu created the universe, filling the world with vitality and life. People managed all things, and from that moment, there existed a world between the heavens and earth. The story of Pangu creating the universe symbolizes the ancient Chinese exploration and understanding.
Sorry about that. Okay, let's see. Japanese version.
In the mists of time, before the world as we knew it took shape,
there was a realm of chaos and serenity coexisting in delicate harmony. This was the realm of Takamagahara, where the gods known as Kami resided. Among these divine beings was Izanagi, the heavenly male, and Izanami, the earthly female. Izanagi and Izanami stood upon the floating bridge of heaven, gazing down into the void below. They took a sacred spear and dipped it into the swirling chaos, and as they lifted it, droplets fell back into the abyss. These drops gave birth to the islands of Japan, transforming the emptiness into a land of beauty. In this newfound world, Izanagi and Izanami reveled in their creation, but they desired more. However, tragedy soon befell the divine couple. During the birth of fire god Kagutsuchi, Izanami suffered severe burns and eventually passed away. Izanagi, overcome with grief and determination, embarked on a journey to Yomi, the realm of the dead, to find his beloved Izanami and bring her back to the land of the living. In Yomi, Izanagi found Izanami, but she was a mere shadow of her former self, a reflection of death's embrace. She implored him not to look upon her, but his curiosity got the better of him. When he saw her decaying form, he fled in horror, sealing the entrance to Yomi with a boulder. Upon his return to the world of the living, Izanagi purified himself. In the process, the gods of purity were born. From his left eye came Amaterasu, the radiant sun goddess, and from his right eye, Tsukuyomi, the shimmering moon god. From his nose, Susanoo, the stormy sea and wind god, came forth. Despite the tragic events, the world continued to thrive. Amaterasu took her place in the heavens, bringing light and warmth, while Tsukuyomi took his place in the night sky, illuminating the darkness. Susanoo, despite his tumultuous nature, brought the rains that nurtured the land. The Japanese creation myth weaves a tale of gods and divine dance of life and death and the delicate balance that governs the cosmos. From chaos and harmony, a vibrant world emerged, shaped by the actions and motions of the divine beings who forged its destiny.
Okay. Let's see, Hindu people, what they say creation was.
Most religions have a single creation story. Hinduism has many. This is because for Hindus there is no single creation, but periodic cycles of creation. The universe we live in is one of innumerable universes. The story of our universe begins with a vast ocean. A serpent, Anantashesh, floats on its surface. Vishnu is asleep in its coils. A lotus sprouts from his navel. On top sits the four-headed demigod Brahma. At first, Brahma can't tell who he is or what he should do. Vishnu encourages Brahma to create the world from the materials he has provided. After eons of meditation, Brahma hears a sound arising from the depths of the ocean, a humming that increases in volume, the sacred Om. Brahma splits the lotus into three parts. One becomes the heavens, another the sky, the third the earth. He creates grass, flowers, trees, birds, fish, and other animals. The world fills with living, breathing things. Regularly, within the cycles of creation, Brahma wants to produce more species or to increase the population of the universe. One time, he produced two forms, a male and female, and they combined to give birth to sons. Another time, he divided in two, becoming male and female. The female part became a cow, and the male part a bull. They give birth to calves. Then she became a mare, and he became a horse. They have foals. And so the process continued to expand the living world.
Okay. and see what Africa has to say.
Organisms spark destruction in the core of the universe. This galaxy must be defended.
At one time, people and animals lived underneath the earth with Khan, the great master and lord of all life. In this place, people and animals lived together peacefully. They understood each other. No one ever wanted for anything, and it was always light, even though there wasn't any sun. During this time of bliss, Khan began to plan the wonders he would put in the world above. First, Khan created a wondrous tree with branches stretching over the entire country. At the base of the tree, he dug a hole that reached all the way down into the world where the people and animals lived. After he had finished furnishing the world as he pleased, he led the first man up the hole. He sat down on the edge of the hole, and soon the first woman came up out of it. Soon all the people were gathered at the foot of the tree, awed by the world they had just entered. Next, Khan began helping the animals climb out of the hole. In their eagerness, some of the animals found a way to climb up the tree's root and come out of the branches. They continued racing out of the world beneath until all of the animals were out. Khan gathered all the people and animals about him. He instructed them to live together peacefully. Then he turned to the men and women and warned them not to build any fires, or a great evil would befall them. They gave their word, and Khan left to where he could watch his world secretly. As evening approached, the sun began to sink beneath the horizon. The people and animals stood watching this phenomenon. But when the sun disappeared, fear entered the hearts of the people. They could no longer see each other as they lacked the eyes of the animals, which were capable of seeing in the dark. They lacked the warm fur of the animals, so also, and soon they grew cold. In desperation, one man suggested that they build a fire to keep warm. Forgetting Khan's warning, they disobeyed him. They soon grew warm and were once again able to see each other. However, the fire frightened the animals. They fled to the caves and mountains, and ever since the people broke Khan's command, people have not been able to communicate with animals. Now, fear has replaced the seat that friendship once held between the two groups.
There's a story the world repeats over and over. When people talk about the third eye, they point to India, to Tibet, to the Himalayas, as if that is where the idea began. But long before anyone drew the Ajna chakra on a diagram or painted a dot on the forehead, African civilizations were already working with a deep form of inner sight, not as fantasy, not as vibes, as a serious spiritual technology. From sacred forests to desert shrines, from river kingdoms to mountain monasteries, African people developed ways of seeing that did not depend on the physical eyes. Ways of knowing that came through dreams, trance, intuition, and direct contact with spirit.
That's not what I want to say about that.
What if I told you the world wasn't meant to be the way it is today? That the land you walk on was never supposed to exist, until one God took matters into his own hands, and another tried to steal creation itself? This This is the shocking Yoruba creation myth, a tale of divine betrayal, a drunken mistake, and a battle that shaped the fate of humanity. So, sit back, because this is African Myths Unveiled. Before we dive deeper into the story, I have a quick question for you. I know that many of you are tuning in from different parts of the world, all united by a love for African mythology. So, I'd love to reconnect. Drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. I'll be in the comment section engaging with you. And if you're enjoying the content, a like and subscription would mean the world to me. Alright, let's get back to the story. Long before the world as we know it existed, there was only an endless, swirling void, a vast abyss of nothingness. The heavens and the earth were yet to be formed, and all was silent, except for the whispers of the divine. Above this emptiness, in the celestial realm known as Orun, dwelled the supreme god, Olodumare, the all-knowing, all-powerful creator of everything. He was the keeper of Ace, the sacred force that gives life and power to all things. One day, as Olodumare gazed upon the formless expanse below, he decided that it was time to create the earth, a land where life would thrive. But he would not do it alone. He called upon Obatala, the divine sculptor and the god of creation, and gave him a sacred mission. Obatala, Olodumare's voice echoed through the heavens. The time has come to shape the world. You will descend into the abyss and mold the land where rivers shall flow, trees shall rise, and creatures shall roam. But remember, the task requires wisdom, patience, and the power of Ace. Obatala bowed in reverence and accepted the sacred duty. To aid him in his quest, Olodumare provided him with a golden chain, long enough to reach the void, a small pouch filled with divine sand, and a powerful white hen. As Obatala prepared to descend, he felt a presence behind him. It was Oduduwa, his younger but ambitious brother, watching with curious eyes. Obatala paid him little attention. He was focused on the task at hand. With determination in his heart, he climbed down the golden chain, descending slowly from the heavens. Below him lay the vast, endless waters of the void. With each step, the world felt emptier, the air thinner, and the darkness more consuming. But he clutched the pouch tightly. This was his destiny. As he reached the bottom of the chain, suspended over the oceanic abyss, Obatala opened the pouch and sprinkled the divine sand into the waters. Then, he released the white hen. What happened next was nothing short of miraculous. The hen flapped its wings and began scratching at the divine sand, scattering it far and wide. Where the grains landed, dry land began to emerge. Small mounds of earth grew into hills and valleys, shaping the first lands of the world. The waters receded, forming rivers and lakes, and soon, the first island was born. Obatala marveled at his creation. He named this land Ife, the sacred place of beginnings. But this was only the first step. The world was far from complete, and unknown to him. His brother Oduduwa had his own plans that would change everything. Obatala stood upon the newly formed land, admiring his work. The dry earth stretched beneath him, surrounded by endless waters, and the first hills and valleys had taken shape. But something was missing. Life. The world felt still, devoid of movement or sound. And so, Obatala resolved to shape beings who would walk this land, creatures that would breathe, speak, and thrive under the gaze of the gods. But before he could begin, he grew thirsty. The descent from Orun had been long, and the heat of the new world was unlike the cool serenity of the heavens. He set aside his tools and sought refreshment. It was then that he stumbled upon a palm tree, rich with sap, and from it he made wine. Not yet accustomed to its potency, he drank too much, and his mind grew clouded. Unknown to him, Oduduwa, his younger brother, had been watching from above. Ambitious and eager to claim power, Oduduwa saw an opportunity. With Obatala lost in his drunken stupor, Oduduwa seized the golden chain and descended into the world his brother had begun to shape. When he landed upon the land of Ife, he saw that it was still unfinished, and the thought struck him. Why should Obatala be the sole creator of the world? I too am worthy of shaping its destiny. With this, Oduduwa took the remaining sand from the divine pouch and scattered it further, expanding the land beyond its initial borders. He raised new hills and deepened the rivers, molding the earth with his own hands. And as he did, he declared himself the true ruler of this creation. When Obatala awoke, the world had changed. The land was no longer his alone. It had grown beyond what he had imagined, and at the heart of it stood his brother, standing tall with an air of triumph. Oduduwa. Obatala's voice rang across the hills. You dare to meddle in my creation? Oduduwa turned, a smirk playing on his lips. You abandoned your duty, brother. I merely continued the work that needed to be done. Fury burned in Obatala's heart, but he knew there was no undoing what had been done. Ife had expanded, and now, two creators stood where there had once been one. But Olodumare, who saw all, was not pleased. The supreme god sent his messenger, Orunmila, the god of wisdom, to settle the matter. This rivalry must end, Orunmila declared. Oduduwa has shaped the land, but it was Obatala who first set foot upon it. From this day forward, Oduduwa shall be the king of this world, the ruler of the land. But Obatala shall have a greater duty. He shall shape the beings who will walk it. And so, the fate of the world was set. Oduduwa, the first ruler, laid the foundations of kingdoms, while Obatala, the sculptor, turned his attention to an even greater task, the creation of mankind. Obatala, though still bitter over Oduduwa's interference, accepted his new duty. If he could not rule the land, then he would give it life. Under the great palm trees of Ife, he sat and gathered the finest clay from the earth, kneading it between his fingers, shaping it with divine precision. One by one, he molded the first human figures, arms, legs, faces, all formed with careful craftsmanship. He sculpted them in different shapes and sizes, some tall, some short, some with wide noses, others with slender faces. But just as he was about to complete his work, something stirred within him, a thirst. He had long since sworn off palm wine after his previous misstep, but the heat of the sun and the exhaustion of his labor made him weak. A pot of the fermented drink sat nearby, untouched for days. Surely just one sip would not harm him. One sip turned into two. Two turned into many. Soon, Obatala's hands, once steady and precise, grew clumsy. His fingers trembled as he sculpted, and in his drunken haze, some of the figures took unusual shapes. Some had hunched backs, others had twisted limbs. But he did not notice. When he finally sobered up, he looked upon his creations and saw the imperfections. He felt ashamed. How could the great sculptor of the gods make such errors? With a heavy heart, he brought his figures to Olodumare. The supreme god looked upon them, his gaze calm, yet powerful. Obatala, you have done well, but your work is not yet complete. I shall breathe life into them, for it is I who gives the breath of existence. But know this, those you shaped in error shall still live among those who are whole, for they too are my children. And so, Olodumare breathed Emi, divine breath into the figures, and they stirred to life. The first humans opened their eyes and took their first steps upon the land of Ike. Some walked tall and strong, while others carried the marks of Obatala's intoxication. Realizing his mistake, Obatala swore an oath. From this day on, I shall never drink palm wine again, and I shall be the protector of those born different, for they are my creation. Thus, the Yoruba people say that those born with disabilities are under the special care of Obatala, the god who shaped them. As the first humans spread across the land, Oduduwa took them under his rule, teaching them how to build homes, farm the land, and form the first great kingdom. The earth was now filled with life, and the gods watched as their creation flourished. But the world was still incomplete, for without balance, chaos would soon follow. The world of men had begun. The land stretched wide, rivers flowed, and the first humans walked beneath the gaze of the gods. Oduduwa ruled as king, guiding the people in the ways of governance, while Obatala, having learned from his mistakes, continued to sculpt new beings with careful hands. Yet, something was missing. Though the earth had form and life, it lacked order. The sun rose and set, but there was no certainty of the future. People lived, but they did not yet know their destinies. The gods watched as humans wandered without purpose, uncertain of what their lives would bring. Olodumare, ever wise, knew that the world could not remain this way. And so, he summoned Orunmila, the god of wisdom and divination, and entrusted him with a sacred duty. Orunmila, you shall bring knowledge of destiny to mankind. You will teach them to seek wisdom, to understand the paths laid before them, and to respect the forces that shape their lives. Orunmila descended to the world and gifted humanity with Ifa, the sacred system of divination. He taught them that their lives were guided by fate, yet shaped by their own choices. Through divination, humans could glimpse their destinies, learn of dangers to come, and seek balance in their lives. But there was still one more force that needed to be set in place: the balance between good and evil, light and darkness. And so, from the shadows came Eshu, the trickster god, the messenger between the divine and the mortal. Eshu was neither fully good nor fully evil. He was the force of chaos, the one who ensured that balance remained. He carried the words of the gods to men and tested their wisdom by placing choices before them. Humans must learn, Eshu declared, that every action has a consequence. Their destinies are written, but the paths they take will be their own. With Orunmila's wisdom, Eshu's lessons, Oduduwa's rule, and Obatala's creation, the world was finally complete. The Yoruba gods had shaped a realm where life flourished, where humans had purpose, and where the divine still touched the mortal world. And so, the land of Ai became known as the cradle of civilization, the sacred birthplace of the Yoruba people. Even today, the echoes of this myth remain. Ifa divination continues to guide seekers of wisdom. Obatala's gentle hand is seen in the care for those born different. And the spirit of Eshu reminds all that life is a path filled with choices. The gods had created the world, but humanity's journey had only just begun.
Check out these deals of the week at Walgreens. Shop weekly deals at your store or at Walgreens.com.
Before there were gods, before Olympus stood tall, before mortals walked the earth, there was only darkness. This is the story of how the world began, not in science but in myth, a tale from ancient Greece passed down through generations, full of chaos, titans, gods, monsters, and betrayal. Grab your ambrosia. This is the origin of the world, according to Greek mythology. In the beginning, there was nothing, only chaos. Not chaos like wild disorder, but chaos as in the yawning void. The great emptiness from which everything came. From chaos emerged the first primordial beings, abstract and vast forces of nature. Gaia, the earth, solid and nurturing. Tartarus, the abyss beneath the world. Eros, the force of desire and creation. Erebus, the darkness of the underworld. And Nyx, the night itself. Gaia alone gave birth to Uranus, the sky. She also birthed the mountains and Pontus, the sea. These were not just places. They were divine beings, eke elemental and eternal. When Gaia and Uranus came together, the first true generation of beings was born. From the union of Gaia and Uranus came the Titans, powerful beings who ruled before the Olympians. There were 12 original Titans: Oceanus, the river encircling the world; Hyperion, the light; Coeus, intellect; Crius, strength; Iapetus, mortality; and Cronus, the youngest and most ambitious. And their sisters, Thea, sight; Rhea, fertility; Themis, law; Mnemosyne, memory; Phoebe, the oracle; and Tethys, the nourishing rivers. But the Titans weren't alone. Gaia and Uranus also bore monstrous offspring: the Cyclops, one-eyed blacksmiths of thunder and lightning; and the Hecatoncheirus, 3 brothers with 100 arms and 50 heads each. Uranus, horrified by their form, imprisoned them deep within Gaia, causing her immense pain. Gaia, enraged, devised a plan. She crafted a great sickle and begged her children for help. Only Cronos stepped forward. One night, as Uranus descended to lie with Gaia, Cronos struck. He castrated his father with the sickle, and from the blood that fell on the earth, new beings arose: the Erinyes, avenging spirits; the giants; and the Melii, ash tree nymphs. From the severed genitals thrown into the sea, foam formed, and from that foam emerged Aphrodite, goddess of beauty and desire. With Uranus dethroned, Cronos became the ruler of the cosmos. But Gaia warned him. Just as he had overthrown his father, one of his own children would overthrow him. Cronos ruled during a time known as the Golden Age, an era of peace for mortals, but a time of growing fear for the gods. To prevent the prophecy from coming true, Cronos took a chilling step. Every time his wife Rhea bore a child, he swallowed it whole. First Hestia, then Demeter, then Hera, Hades, and Poseidon, all consumed by their own father. Rhea, heartbroken, sought Gaia's help. When her 6th child was born, she wrapped a stone in swaddling cloth and handed it to Cronus. He swallowed it, never knowing the difference. The real child, Zeus, was hidden away in a cave on the island of Crete, raised by nymphs and fed by a magical goat named Amalthea. When Zeus came of age, he confronted Cronus. With help from Metis, a goddess of wisdom, Zeus tricked Cronus into drinking an emetic potion. The Titan vomited up Zeus's siblings, fully grown and ready for battle. And so began the Titanomachy, the war between the Olympians, led by Zeus, and the Titans, led by Cronus. The war raged for 10 years. The Titans had brute strength, but the Olympians had cunning and strategy. Gaia once again intervened. She told Zeus that to win, he must free the Cyclopes and the Hecatoncheires, still imprisoned in Tartarus. Zeus descended into the abyss, slew the guardian Campe, and freed the monstrous siblings. The Cyclopes gifted Zeus the thunderbolt, Poseidon the trident, and Hades the helm of invisibility. With these weapons, the Olympians turned the tide. With the Hecatoncheires hurling boulders in chaos into the skies, and Zeus raining lightning upon the earth, the Titans fell. Cronus and his allies were defeated. As punishment, Zeus cast them into Tartarus, deeper than the underworld itself, where the Hecatoncheires now stood guard. Only a few Titans were spared: Prometheus and Epimetheus, for siding with Zeus, Oceanus, who remained neutral, and Mnemosyne, Themis, and a few others, who became part of the new divine order. With the Titans gone, the Olympians rose to power. Zeus took his place as king of the gods, ruling from Mount Olympus. Poseidon ruled the sea. Hades took the underworld. The world was reshaped. Sky, sea, and land were divided. Time began to flow with structure. The era of myth had begun in earnest. But even victory couldn't bring peace forever. Soon would come the creation of mankind, the punishment of Prometheus, the war against the monstrous Typhon, and the tale of Pandora's box. But those are stories for another day. The story of the world's beginning in Greek mythology isn't just about gods and monsters. It's about power, rebellion, and the endless cycle of creation and destruction. From chaos came order, from betrayal, new rule, and from the fall of the Titans rose the age of the Olympians. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the mythic past.
Okay, one more, yeah.
Welcome to Papa Studio. Have you ever heard about a time when humans never felt hungry, never fought, and lived in perfect peace? That magical time was called the Golden Age. It was ruled by one mighty King Cronus, the Titan. Long before Zeus made thunder, before Poseidon ruled the sea, and before Hades guarded the underworld, there was Cronus. He was the youngest of the 12 Titans, born from Gaia, the Earth, and Uranus, the sky. Fearing his own children, he locked them deep within the earth. Gaia cried out in pain and begged her children to rise. Only Cronus was brave enough to answer her call. With a shining scythe in his hand, a blade crafted from the heart of the earth, Cronus struck down his father and set the world free. The sky lifted, the ground opened, and light poured into the world for the first time. From that moment, Cronus became king of the Titans, ruler of heaven and earth. Under his rule, the world grew. The rivers sparkled. The fields never went dry. People felt no hunger or pain. No one grew old too soon, and no one lied or stole. It was the happiest time of all. The golden age of man. Cronus watched over this peaceful world with pride, wanting it to last forever. But then came a whisper, a prophecy that chilled his heart. It said, "One of your own children will rise to take your throne." Fear filled Cronus' mind. He remembered what he had done to his father and believed his children would do the same. So, when each child was born, Cronus swallowed them whole, not out of cruelty, but out of fear. But his wife, Rhea, couldn't let that happen. When her youngest, Zeus, was born, she wrapped the stone in a blanket and gave it to Cronus. He swallowed it without question, and the baby Zeus was hidden safely on a secret island. There, Zeus grew strong and clever. When he was ready, he returned to face his father. Zeus made Cronus release all his brothers and sisters, Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Demeter, and Hesper. Together, they rose against the Titans in a great war that shook the heavens. For 10 long years, the earth trembled and the sky burned. In the end, Zeus and his siblings won, and the rule of the Titans came to an end. But the story of Cronus didn't fade. Some say it's interesting, it's the realm where time stands still. even though fear made him lose everything. The world will always remember Cronus, the Titan King who once gave humans a world without hunger, without pain, and full.
I'm sorry, one more. Let me see. You said the Titan. Let me see.
The
Greeks did not believe that the gods created the universe. It was the other way about. The universe created the gods.
Before time, they rule the so-called Golden Age, a period of peace before Olympus exists. Yet that age cannot begin until their father's tyranny ends. After the Titans arrived, Gaia continued bearing children, but their forms grew less symmetrical, more elemental. The Cyclopes, Brontes, Thunder, Steropes, Lightning, and Arges, Bright, stand 6 to 8 meters tall, each with a single central eye. Their importance is functional. They are master smiths. Hesiod credits them with forging Zeus's thunderbolt, Hades' helmet of invisibility, and Poseidon's trident. In other words, without Cyclopean craftsmanship, the Olympian arsenal would not exist. Still more formidable are the Hecatonkairos, literally 100-handed ones. Cottus, Briareus, Aegaeon, and Gyges are giants whose 50 heads and 100 arms symbolize overwhelming chaotic force in nature. They rule the
Alrighty. Okay. Let's see what's happening. I was trying to get. I know much not interesting to most of y'all. Okay. What's this? Okay. Yeah. Let's see if I can get a question. What is this? Playable. What is this? Play. Hidden. I don't know what that is. Question. Filter community motivation. What is this? Start a live goal. Super chat. Gift. Celebrate. Start code. Okay. Okay. All right. So we're gonna do Aquarius and Gemini. Happy birthday, Gemini. I know it's leaving. Simply because you're near me. Honey, but when you're near me, I'm in the mood. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna take a tinkle. When you tinkle, when you sprinkle, be a sweetie, wipe the sea. Golden Age. Let's use these. Aquarius. Taurus, Libra, Sagittarius. Okay. Justice. Alrighty. Reverse 3 of Swords, Capricorn, Virgo. First we have 3 of Cups reverse. Might could be over drinking. Stop drinking for a while. We got Cancer, Pisces. We got witches, 3 people involved. We got Uranus here. Oh no, Neptune, my fault. And the moon. Could be don't give a damn, not in their feelings. Okay. And we got 3 again. 33 Masons. 33 master number. Feminine energy. Work reverse. No business. Not in the business. Minding their business. Okay, put it like that. 7, 8. Okay. We got Sagittarius energy, which is Cancer and Pisces also. Z for Zeus. Carriage. Transportation, light and dark. Okay, let's see. Number 7. The Conqueror. Victory. Remember then, son of the earth, that the empire of the world belongs to them who possess the sovereignty of spirit. That is to say, the light which makes clear the mystery of life. It signifies that in breaking through obstacles, thou wilt crush thy enemies, and all thy wishes will be revealed if thou attack the future with audiency, armed in the consciousness of right. Okay? So if anybody having issues with work or feeling some type of way, you're going to figure it out. Everything's going to turn in your favor. Maybe you have to catch a bus, a train, New York, the railway, whatever they call it. Whatever it is, if you're going in a car, it's possible. Okay. Someone traveling also. I don't know if it's waxing or waning moon. We got witches also. Feminine energy. Traveling. Okay. Then we got Cancer reverse with Scorpio. Okay. Number 18. So I'm going to take this out. Had it for a while. Okay, 16. Am I missing the paper? I went too fast. 17. 18. Okay. Oh, that's 7. I'm tripping. 7. No wonder. Okay, let's see. 7, 7, 7, 9, and 3, 8. I once been in love with you, but that's alright. The balance. Oh, that's 8. The Conqueror. No, 18. I'm tripping. Get it together, Ruthie. Ruthie, you know. Okay, 18. The moon. Deception, false friends, and secret foes. Reverse. Remember that son of the earth, that whosoever braves the unknown does so at his peril. Hostile minds, figured by Black Dog, surround him with ambushes. Friendly survey minds will offer him flatteries, and treacherous minds, like unto the scorpion, will plan to attend their ends to his ruin. Observe and listen, but know how to be silent. Okay. Then we got Gemini energy reverse. Double Gemini. Number 7 again. Mercury. Gonna go in that Mercury retrograde. So someone was traveling, 3 people. Could be feminine energy in their emotions to come to do harm. Okay. Oh, money under the table because of money. It's all about the money. That Leo energy in their ego. Taurus, Virgo. So there's planning, like rulership or authority, but confused. Same pattern. So you or them were supposed to do the same patterns, waiting for you like on a path. Okay. Conflict resolved. Obstacles, old brothers. Okay. To resolve an issue. No smoke. Aquarius energy. It's my Joseph card. Egypt. Jack of the god Zeus. Okay, we got Zeus too. Okay. Pharaoh. Egypt way of looking things. So we want to the Yoruba way of the world was created, right? Jack. Jack and the beanstalk. Jack of coins. Signifies a person ruled by Aquarius. Witty, argumentative, yet amiable. Artistic, humanitarians, and fond of refined society. Right way up the notes an Aquarius man. I know. So somebody's looking at some plans, a list, a scroll. Famine or plenty or no or not. Junior. Number 8. Let's see. Let's keep going. Number 8. The balance. Capricorn. Libra energy. Justice and equilibrium. Remember then, son of the earth, that to be victorious over thyself and dominate obstacles is but part of a human task. To accomplish it entirely, thou must establish equilibrium between the forces that thou hast brought into play. So making amends. All actions produces reactions. The will should foresee the shock of opposite forces in order to tamper or amuse them. It signifies that the future is balanced between good and evil, and warns that an unbalanced mind is like an abortive sun. Let me look at this. False enemies of jealousy. Be upright. Somebody's coming to the realization of whatever in the past of the things that they have done. You're at peace, money. And Capricorn, bow down, bow down, bow down. Also, 22. Okay. It's also sexual card. Jack of Swords. Sacrifice and kneeling down. Things they have to do. System. Crafty. Okay. 22. The materialism reverse. Was it all worth it? Okay, is it worth it? Folly and mistaken spirituality. But it's reverse. Remember then, son of the earth, that all things physical pass away, and that before the soul can pass to higher realms, every debt to nature must be paid to the utmost farthing. And prudence threatened to encompass thy ruin, and thou wilt be called upon to pay for thy folly, unless thou immediately change thy ways. So I'm seeing the Scorpio card, realization. Let's see. Okay, 8 reverse. Virgo and Capricorn, and they were together talking where? Well, it was Virgo and Taurus. Quiet. Sickness. I don't know, somebody has stomach ache. Got to use the restroom. Something was intervened when someone was going to attack someone. Okay. Confront them about some money. Attack them about some money. But Aquarius reverse. 4 of coins. Uranus. Scorpio, Cancer. Their feelings of drinking. 6. Virgo energy. The moon. I don't know if this was something happened during sex or last night or during the full moon. A new moon we just had, right? I said about somebody's not eating right, putting the right things in their body. I said that last video. Somebody could be using some alligators, Louisiana style, with a salt. That tastes so good. Something didn't agree with their stomach. Or could be hungry. We got famine here. Not eating right, like I say. Money could be an issue. Maybe something was held up. Money was held up. Not working. It seems like something's gonna balance out with the money situation. Could have felt like you're being punished. So we got Uranus. We have Uranus and Zeus. It's like the gods are, straighten yourself up. Get out the matrix. Leo energy reverse. The sun. Could be a night or not feeling happy, not feeling yourself. Somebody could be worried. Feminine energy. Foundation is not right. It could be inside of your body. Like I say, maybe take a laxative, prunes, or something. Keep the circulation going. Built on faulty foundation is reversed. So sun twice reversed. Maybe the pain or whatever it may be at night. Drink water. Horseman of Cups. Balance your system out. Something about that going on. Yeah, see, eating. No fruits and vegetables. Maybe somebody eat too much barbecue or too much grease. Don't do a lot of baking the right way. Maybe eat a lot of barbecue. I don't know. A lot of meat instead of fruits and vegetables. Balancing your system out. Horseman of Cups. I don't know if you have like somebody. I don't know if you're going into operation because we got Taurus here, doctor. Like your system needs cleaning out. I started to get some Epsom salt today. They sell it like $1.50 at the dollar store. That's my family's remedy. 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt, an 8-ounce glass of water. Put a little baking soda in there, like a half a teaspoon, so it won't grip your stomach. And you gotta stay home, okay? If it don't do anything within a week, 2 weeks, take some more till you clean your system out. I was just telling somebody about that, Aquarius. I was just telling her about that because she's saying that she feel sick in her stomach and her back, but she don't exercise. She's always in a chair. The chairs they have, kind of overweight, and it's causing some issues because she's worrying too much. You know what I'm saying? You know, your life was a way that you didn't really want it to go. You know how to go. We all know how to go. And but you still got to keep up and move around and walk. So the doctors tell her did a colonoscopy, and they claim nothing's stuck, but she feels it in her stomach, and when she go to the restroom. So I told her somebody gave her another remedy, and I told her, she said she did a little bit, but not a lot. So I told her to just wait a couple more days, do it again till you feel the flow coming out of you. Eating the wrong things. They got poison all in our food, the whole 9 yards, right? So this is what I'm seeing here. Damn, I sure want to eat that alligator. I ain't been home. I need to go home. This reminds me of New Orleans, Louisiana. We used to be in the canals catching bullfrogs, crawfish, or whatever. We did all kind of stuff, little. Our cousins. That was so fun. But yeah, drink more water. Bunch of water behind whatever you do. Yeah, it could get real ugly in the bathroom. I was telling y'all the time I ate that government cheese. And man, y'all know I told y'all about that. I didn't know what the fuck. I hadn't had a feeling like that ever. But my whole bottom was coming out. I threw that shit in the trash. So eating right, somebody's eating wrong. Let go of old grudges. Let go of anger, animosity, because your body reacts on that. You know what I'm saying? Your body reacts on how you're doing. Your body reacts on how you feel. A lot wouldn't want to hear that. They want to be bad, don't fuck with me, blah, 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 blah. But you that's not the order that the body was made to do. The body was made in peace and in love. And then, I showed all them videos of how the disruption and how they make you feel some type of way so they can fuck your body up, because they don't give a fuck about us humans, okay? Just get it down pat, okay? But you gotta care. You gotta move around when you need to move around from people that's causing you too much havoc, too much gossip, too much anger, bringing up the past all the time. We're finna be in retrograde. I'm going back to the past when I'm showing the videos, because the past is going to determine our future for as the golden age, the age of Aquarius. Seeing the mistakes and what we're dealing with, because the age of Aquarius is supposed to be peace and everybody have their own stuff, and the land and all that kind of stuff, food and stuff like that. But if you glutton and greedy become the Taurus age, what's the point? You know what I'm saying? So, it's gonna be a struggle. It's gonna be a fight. Everybody already know they poison our food. We already know the grocery stores is set up. We already know all this stuff. The polluting in the air. I showed all of the experiments they did on people. Still doing all the shit going on. Are you going to stay in that mindset like ain't nothing happening? What they putting in the meat, what they taking out the meat, human meat, all the whole 9 yards, right? I know y'all want him to preach, but I'm just saying this is what I'm seeing. I talk about it to myself. Horseman of Cups denotes thoughts of love or affection, right way up there, sincere and to the client's advantage. Okay, so Libra energy, balanced, speaking in love. Yeah. It's Time to Take Care of You. So I think it was gonna come out. Somebody didn't realize something, but it's supposed to be a realization. Maybe didn't think something was going. You could have been traveling, and then boom, you got to start aching, stomach, back, whatever the deal is, and because Scorpios got to do with the bottom part, right? Restroom, feeling some type of way, because you need the body cleansed and cleaned out, and that's and the mind. I don't see Aries yet. Did Aries come out at all? I was gonna say in the mind also, because it starts from the mind. Because that's why I like what my mom told us to take, because it starts from the head, from the rooter to the tooth, head to the feet, cleansing out. Baby, you better stay by the bathroom. That's all I got to say. Because it's coming. Success. Woo. Success. Might start off with 2. Putting your 2 cents in. Okay. We got Libra, Aquarius, Leo. Calm down. Okay. Petty stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how I can emphasize. I can't. I can only talk. I try to. Yeah, things anger me. I'm, and hurt about a lot of things, especially lately that's going on or went on. I didn't hide it from y'all. But I can't stay in that mindset because the world keeps going, regardless. And I can't afford to just be miserable for mistakes I've made or fear tactics or whatever the deal is. Got to find some peace and joy in whatever it is, and you got to be willing to forgive and offer apology. You should never be whatever mindset that is that you cannot apologize and ask for forgiveness from the gods or whoever you serve, the ancestors. I tell you all the time, talk to your ancestors. Before this tower go, Aquarius star, Aquarius and Gemini energy. Let's see. Let me put this down. Go through here. Okay, I read 22. Did I read Queen of Swords, reverse? Signifies a person ruled by Virgo, studious, rather even-tempered, ingenuous, and witty. Reverse indicates a Virgo man trying to analyze something, but it could be a realization as well, which you have not been doing. I'm seeing a lot of sickness in here. The Aries finally came out. And that could be a big change too. 21. A big change. Also, we got storms, disasters. On top of everything else, they gonna throw us some of that. Because like Mr. Gates says, it's too crowded. So he must be one of them God's children who felt that way of the floods we was looking at. He thinks he has authority to do so, and evidently they must have gave him that authority. Adopt. Success or attainment. Remember then, son of the earth, that the entire of the empire of the world belongs to the empire of light, and that the empire of light is a throne which God reserves for the sanctified will. Thou wilt gather the fruits of knowledge of good and evil, and drink of the eternal fountain, if thou art sufficiently master of thyself to approach it without coveting, taking somebody else's shit, doing somebody else do. This is the last one on here was when I was looking at the Yoruba tribe. It said they sent, where is it? Issue the trickster to test you, the God to test you, and you got to be willing, for you to stay on the straight and narrow, for you to check yourself. He puts things in your path to see where you be tempted to take it and to do it. And then you got to have a realization that, oh shit, I fucked up. And willing to do whatever it is, with body wise, people wise, mind wise, whatever it may be, starting over, that's your right. Okay? But we talked about a lot of fear gods and goddesses that can come on you and whisper in your ear through people or your own consciousness to make you feel like you should not do this, and harden your heart like Pharaoh, even worse. Okay? Remember, Pharaoh didn't want to let the people go, and the evilness kept whispering. The creator, whatever God that was, made his heart harden. He wanted to prove a point, and show his whatever he had to show. Y'all know. So it's like you haven't discovered who you are for you to take those kind of steps. You know what I'm saying? To be like the God, because you don't know who you are. So you keep getting twisted, you keep getting these entities and stuff whispering, boosting your ego, and making you think you don't have to do certain things, and holding on to grudges that may or may not even be real. You know what I'm saying? In your mind, it's all in your mind that you perceived something the wrong way, and you took it the wrong way, and you ran with it and did things that now you wish you wouldn't have, and you wish you wouldn't have got caught. But they asking you to, from the heart, to want to change it, But all that decayed artery, eating wrong, hanging with the wrong vibes, everything I mentioned before can come into play to mess your mind up, where you miss the whole thing and you stay in darkness. And that's dangerous. You got all them little dark entities or whatever, they love it. That's what they do. They lonely anyway. I mean, come on now. They don't want to be there. I already told y'all the story of how a lot of them are, how they got in that position. And you jumping in, and they can feed off of you and keep you in that state of mind where you know you deserve better. But they have you thinking that, okay, if I just get this from somewhere else, I'll be better. If I just get this from over there, I'll be better. What about in you? Can you get it from inside of you? Can you find out who you are Can you find out your own destiny and realize that you're a star as well? I was telling a girl I went to the store yesterday, and it really bothered me. First, she gave me compliments, and I gave her compliments because she deserved that too. And then she came and she said, "I want your hair." It's like you shouldn't want anybody's anything. And her hair was nice. Not looking at your own self and seeing how nice you look, but looking outside at somebody else, you miss you. So I was trying to tell as much as I possibly can, girl. You can. I would have never made them bold moves you made. Hairstyles and stuff like that, and the dress was cool. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But she don't see that. She's looking on the outside for something else to validate herself when she has it on the inside. And I was like, damn, that kind of hurt. I don't know. I just have a lot of compassion for people because, you know, um, yeah, some things, through my life, a certain walk or a certain person with long hair or, you be like the guys like this certain girl. But then I started realizing they ass want to just fuck. So I didn't date till I was like in 12 for school, whatever. I had little screws here and there, but had to have real sex. But anyway, choices I made, you know what I'm saying? I seen too much. There was too much sex going on around me that was unwanted and unnecessary and taboo, you know. And I just, I just, but anyway, yeah, looking at your own self and let that shit go, literally or physically. Freeing when you get a good old shit right, you feel cleansed. You feel freer. Your body is don't have all that weight inside. That's the same thing with the mind. That's the grudges and petty stuff and gossip and holding anger and animosity and you know what I'm saying? All that kind of stuff. When you let that stuff go, that stuff frees you. Guilt, fear, that's an everyday occurrence. You got to work on yourself because you're going to have that little whisper in the ear trying to break you down and make you feel worse than you did. And then they're going to try to give you plans that's going to fail and they know it. And I told you they be laughing at our ass. You know what I'm saying? They be laughing at our ass. So, let me see. Let me read number 16. I don't appreciate me, myself. You know what I'm saying? When you know who I am and you put them stumbling blocks in my way and then I'm a trip on them and then you sit back and laugh because you know how to remember who I am, you know what I'm saying, and you have me looking at somebody else's a way of life, where it be a movie star, where it be the neighbor next door, people on the street, whoever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? If I wasn't strong enough to love myself and learning to love myself more, I will fall more for that. I will try to be somebody else. So you got to think you got to start talking to yourself. You can't keep talking to other people. You got to start talking to yourself, your ancestors, you know what I'm saying? And getting the answers from within. People who lost, being around people who lost just like you, they going to tell you what lost shit. You know what I'm saying? For real though. Let's see, where is it? Number 10, 15, 16. Come on, 16. Da, 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 da. And wanting something to happen to somebody because of things that's going on in your life or that you created and blaming it on somebody else and really go through your life You know, if it's something you have a problem with somebody, talk it out. You know, you hurt me, blah, 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 this, that, whatever, and try to resolve that. You know what I'm saying? Um, the lightning, accident, catastrophe. Remember the son of the earth that only God shit, I can't see, is absolute. Reflect on the old oaks that have defiled the ravages of time and have finally been brought down after a century of immunity. Think that thou too may be brought low at the very moment of thy great arrogance by some unexpected blow. But you don't want to leave here and not freeing yourself for this, because you already know the trickery waiting on you on the other side. You already know. You know what I'm saying? What's that one? Pisces reverse. Jack of Cups. I don't care. I leave out this world as long as I can hurt you. What kind of thinking is that? You think you're going to say that to the other side when you go to the other side? They're going to be like, well, what did you do? But what did you do? But what did you do about it? But what did you do? That's all I'm saying is, what did you do? You know? Can't throw all that to them on the other side. They don't want to hear that shit. What did we tell you, whisper in your ear to do? We were whispering too. Matter of fact, some of them was real graphic. Okay, come on now. I'm telling you some things. I know this here. It has to be this one. Yeah, sure. Jack of Cups signifies a person ruled by the sign. No, that ain't it. Yeah. Signifies a person ruled by Pisces. Negative, timid, listless, harmless, and much influenced by those about him. Reverse indicates a Pisces woman. I don't believe. Not in your feelings. No love. Aquarius energy. Could be exploding about something. It could be physical. I don't know. I just feel like this is a physical thing. Gemini could be arguing, drinking. Let's see. 17. Gemini, Aquarius. Letting someone get your blood pressure up. Careful with your blood pressure. That's not eating the right things. That's letting gossip and bullshit take control. Gotta remain calm as possible. I know some things you want to, mad about, but gotta have all kind of ways out of it. I was raising my kids. I couldn't call their daddies and say, bring me this, bring me that. I had to go out there and get it. I had to find out all ways that I possibly can to make sure that I had Pampers, milk, food for all the rest of them. You know what I'm saying? Shelter, lights and gas and water on. Sometimes they got turned off. Had to go get assistance besides me working. Try to maintain, making sure they have what they need. Try to make them happy at the same time. Having given parties. Finding things so their world could be a little better and not realize what we really going through. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Where am I? Gemini. Oh, yeah. Let's see. You can only do your best. That's all you can do. At least do something. Don't just sit there and not do anything and wait for something to fall from the sky. Not saying that they won't Sometimes the creators will give you some stuff. Ancestors, money angels, whatever. Truth, hope, and faith. See what I'm saying? Keep the faith. Remember this of the earth that hope is the sister of faith. Shed thy passion out errors in order to study the mysteries of true science, and the key will be given thee. Then a ray of divine light will break from the occult sanctuary in order to dissipate the shadows of thy future and show thee the way of happiness. Never injure the flower of hope, and thou wilt gather the fruits of faith. Okay? I mean, and go fasting would be good here. Thinking better things. You start taking care of your body and focusing on yourself. You start thinking better. Some people might be scared of that because of things that they have done, but there's no way around it. You got to go through that pain. You got to. It's like a bad toothache. Lord knows I know about that bad toothache. Aquarius, Gemini energy. I talked about the last time, brainwashing. 101. 101. Remember who you are, star seed. Going down the right path. I'm saying. Can y'all hear me? Damn, I hope she ain't mess up my hearing. Does it when I online.